Yo, what's up guys, welcome to my humble YouTube channel where I bring you fanfiction that will brighten your days. Before we start, a subscribe is greatly appreciated, and don't forget to leave a like and ring the bell icon so you won't miss exciting new fanfiction stories. The Shadow of a God by DirtyRippedPaper Chapter 15, Jeju Island Raid. I stared at the mess in front of me. Jin-woo looked unapologetic even when stared at in the face by the mess she created. Rimuru peeked from behind and chuckled while looking at the mess. I didn't ask Rimuru to look after Jin-woo because I was only gone for less than a week, but then this happens? Chores after 4 years. Let's clean it up together, shall we? My mom was positive, holding my dad's hand. It's been a while since I've done chores, my dad said. You can join in if you'd like, Riri, she called out to Rimuru. My sister told so many stories about Rimuru to my mother, and after that outing we had, the two of them grew closer. And when my dad came, my mother and sister both told stories of Rimuru to him. Yay, she's basically a part of my family now. I'd be happy to join you guys, Rimuru beamed. Rimuru and I never had nicknames for each other. I guess that's just how we are. Though, it does sadden me a tad bit. This house is rather old now. There are plenty of stains everywhere around, my mother said. We've lived here since we were babies, so it makes sense. I looked at her place and saw her caressing the portrait of her and my father's wedding. She had a solemn look on her face. My dad embraced her from behind tightly. I'm just glad you're back, honey. To protect this peace, really do have to go to the Jeju Island raid. The rate at which the ants are evolving at is terrifying. So in order to protect them, I need to destroy the source. I walked on the streets while looking at comments online. All of the S ranks are joining, even the previous E rank Sung Jin-woo. Even though Sung Jin-woo was an E rank and just recently became S rank, he still joined. If I was Sung Jin-woo, I wouldn't have joined the raid. He must be used to E rank and D rank dungeons. Isn't it too much to ask for him to join an S rank raid? Sung Jin-woo truly wants to help people. The comments I read about me were all mainly positive, yet the same couldn't be said for Rimuru. When I heard that a Japanese person became a hunter in Korea, I was disgusted. Now she's an S rank. How can a Japanese represent Korea's strongest? She should have just not joined the Jeju Island raid. With these other S ranks and the newly appointed S rank Sung Jin-woo, she isn't even needed. A frail and pale girl. You expect us to believe she'll be of help in the Jeju Island raid? She might just cause a hindrance. Cha Hae-in was a woman indeed, but at least she had presented herself in a manner that made you believe in her. Rimuru Tempest. She just looks weak. The majority of the people loved Rimuru. She was one of the strongest hunters in Korea. Even then, it's inevitable that there'll be those who despise her. If they'd seen how powerful Rimuru was, they wouldn't say such bullshit. With just one piece of information, people can judge your whole character. They think they know everything about you. Some of their complaints don't even make sense, but that's society for you. They deem every aspect of you as faulty. Had I not joined the Jeju Island raid like I initially planned, I'm sure I would have been bombarded with hate comments as well. I wonder what Rimuru feels about these hate comments. Has she even seen them? What if she's crying while reading them? Who am I kidding? That girl would never cry at the mere sight of hate comments. My ears turned red. When will I be able to tell her what I feel? I got a call on my phone, disrupting my thoughts. Hey. Brother. It's me, Yoo Jin-ho. Oh, it's you. Are you still living in a motel? Nope, I just got a new place recently. I contacted mother and she gave me this place. Man, sometimes these rich kids make me envious. Brother, I put something in the office, would you like to see? Did you call Rimuru? Yeah, she's here. I arrived at the address Jin-ho told me and looked around. We need an office if we want to make a guild. How is it, brother, sister? I chose a place not too far from you two's home. Well, you two do live in the same building. I scratched my head. Isn't it too big for the three of us? Nope. Just the right size, he assured me. Rich people have a warped sense of what's normal. Brother, sister, this reminds me. There was a person that wanted to meet you too. Who? Rimuru asked. Even her voice makes me flustered. I shook my head to get these thoughts out of my mind, making Rimuru and Jin-Ho stare at me in a weirded out way. That was fucking embarrassing. Jin-Ho continued on. He was a foreigner who spoke English. He said to contact him as soon as possible as he stays until September 17th. Jin-Ho handed Rimuru and I a paper to share. I wonder who this foreigner that speaks English is. As far as I remember, I haven't met up with anybody like that. I got an alarm of something bad happening in the neighborhood. I've gotta go home real quick. I used shadow exchange. I could overhear their conversation. If you make a noise, you die. You're well aware of how many people died here, right? Scum. Please. That's why I like this neighborhood. Bastard. I also like this neighborhood. The bastard looked back at me. I'm just curious. Why are you doing all of this? Haha. Why? Are you going to give me a lecture? It's for no reason. Well, if I had one. It's because, it's fun, he lunged at me. It's so strange when I see something weaker than me, I just have this desire to play WI. I cut him off, I understand. I pushed my dagger onto his skin, slashing at it. The smallest of wounds made him fall to the ground. Weak. But once you do it, it's hard to go back to a normal life. How annoying. You better make sure I get home before it gets too dark. I looked down at him who was writhing in pain. I signaled for the woman from earlier to run and she obliged. Turn yourself in before midnight. That is, if you want to live. Kill him if he doesn't turn himself in before midnight, I told my shadow. I truly hope you don't die. I don't even know if the High Orc has enough tolerance to not kill him before that time comes. I walked away from him. I looked up at the moon. Tomorrow's finally the day the Jeju Island raid starts. All of the S-rank hunters participating in the raid boarded a helicopter towards the destination. Multiple military ships were stationed near Jeju Island. Hunters from each guild were requested by the Hunters Association to prepare themselves towards the south of Korea. Like what Rimuru said, if by chance the raid were to prove unsuccessful, the ants may begin to fly over to Korea and begin their attack. The same goes even if it were to be successful. Each defense force consisted of a B-rank hunter who will lead 3 C-rank hunters and 10 plus D-rank hunters. There were retired hunters, and even those who received awakenings but did not want to be a hunter. And in total, there were 5,000 of them. They were only a tenth of all the people that awakened in the entire country. It really is better to make sure of your success. Didn't Korea lose an S-rank hunter because of the Jeju Island raid from before? What a shame. I looked outside the window of the helicopter. Maybe the raid will be fun. I'd be leveling up a ton. I heard a voice. I'm the cameraman from the official Hunters Reporting Center. Just like the name implies, I'm someone who specializes in filming hunters. He held out his hand. Rimuru excitedly took his hand and shook it. The man was quite taken aback, but continued his words. This raid will be broadcasted live on TV. You also won't have to worry much about making mistakes. Since the broadcast will have a 10-minute delay, the editing team can cut out those parts for you. So that's what happens during live broadcasts. I can't believe a cameraman was deployed to a dangerous place like this. What is Chairman Go Gun-hee thinking? Baek Yoon-ho chimed in. As hunters, it is our duty to protect the people. But you know, Mr. Cameraman, you need to understand that your life is in your own hands, Ma Dong-wook told him. Don't worry about it. I may look like this, but I'm an A-rank hunter, The chairman wouldn't send out a weakling to a raid like this. I have heard of these cases. Some hunters may have a hunter's license, but they end up finding out that they're not suited for running raids, and choose to opt out and live like normal people. The cameraman with the A-rank hunter's license was one of those people. I noticed the cameraman's shaking hands. This isn't the first time I'm filming in such a dangerous circumstance. Of course, I've gotten into many sticky situations during filming. But nothing can compare to where we're going. His hands trembled even more. Rimuru also took notice of it and held his hands with such care it made me envious. We are certain this plan will succeed. I'm sure even the chairman knows of it. If he thought it wasn't going to succeed, he wouldn't have sent you here. Even if it doesn't, I'll be sure to keep you safe, if not, the safest in here. Her words brought the cameraman reassurance. His face had a tint of red. I don't feel good about this. I was never bothered by this type of thing. I mean, it was normal for people to fall for Rimuru. She had a face that made you ask if she was a painting, a voice that soothed your worries. Why is it now that I'm bothered? No, even before I was bothered. It's just now that I'm more aware of my feelings. The desire to have her eyes set on me, and me only. I bit my lip. I hate this feeling. JinWoo. She snapped her fingers in front of me. My reaction brought her glee as she giggled. Don't let your mind wander off. Have complete focus. She moved seats and sat beside me. She's right. I need to have focus. The people are in dire need of a hero. Looks like you two are in your own world, Choi Jong-in said. His words contained a humorous tone, but I could see it in his eyes. This man, he did not like me, yet he liked Rimuru very much. It was clear as day that he was envious of Rimuru and I. It ticked me off. I looked at Rimuru. She's either completely oblivious, or she doesn't care enough. It's probably the latter. She's practically collecting people like it's nothing. Like some sort of manhwa protagonist. Since Rimuru is Japanese, would it be more of a manga protagonist? I could feel Cha Hae-in's gaze towards me. It felt like she had the same type of gaze towards Rimuru and I. Yet I could definitely feel that she liked Rimuru more than she liked me. So many rivals. Hoo-hoo, it's finally going to start, Ma Dong-wook spoke. Min Byung-gyu's hands were visibly shaking. Rimuru held his hands as a way to comfort him. A wave of magical energy flooded through. What an enormous magical energy, Baek Yoon-ho praised. It looks like the Japanese have started their attack. Choi Jong-in looked out. The helicopter opened up and Choi Jong-in stood by the exit. A swarm of ants were coming at us. If I kill all of them, surely I'd get a lot of express. Then, allow me to. He got cut off by Rimuru immediately destroying the numerous ants. That was my plan, but she beat me to it. In one move, Rimuru managed to destroy all of the ants. It is no easy feat. How impressive, Rimuru, Min Byung-gyu applauded, making Rimuru grin. The ants have evolved quite a bit. They're much different from last time, Choi Jong-in added. They're quite durable. Rimuru formed her hand into a ball. I'll go down now. I jumped from the sky to the ground, reaching the ants. Sung Jin-woo. Min Byung-gyu was concerned about me. Rimuru held her hand in front of him. JinWoo will be fine. He is a man that can face anything. Isn't that type of description better suited for her? Well, whatever. I stood in the face of the ants. They don't look all that. Come at me. The swarm of ants started to pounce on me. I took out my dagger and started slashing at these bugs. They're more annoying rather than deadly. I effortlessly kept slashing at these ants. To be fair, they are quite durable. Even I had to exert some sort of force in order to slash at them, but still, they're weak. They're good for gaining express. Before I knew it, I already finished clearing the ants. I looked up the sky, seeing Rimuru's peeking head from the helicopter. You can come down now. I smiled. Rimuru teleported to the ground. I'm still baffled with that ability. Even I have a cooldown of a few hours. The plan we're following right now can become much like our previous attempts. We could end up getting trapped inside the ant cave and perish. Ma Dong-wook worried about the outcome of this raid. With Rimuru and I around, I'm 100% sure that this raid will be a success. If I told them that, they'd probably get mad at me for being too cocky. The Japanese hunters can only pull their aggro for about 1 hour. Within that time frame we must kill the queen. To keep it short, just be prepared for anything. If it's this, then I'm sure we'll succeed, Rimuru spoke. The other hunters started dropping from the sky, landing on the ground. It's time to enter the ant cave. On the entrance of the cave was a net made of fire. Choi Jong-in set it up. Yeah, he's the best in his field. I glanced at Rimuru, who was by my side. Well, at least before Rimuru got reappraised. Rimuru is most definitely the best in many fields. I heard about this. What was its name? Baekrock Dam. I heard about it from a friend before who would often go to Korea on vacation before I moved here. Rimuru seemed excited. That's right. This used to be regarded as beautiful. It looks like shit now, I said. That's right. Now it's just an anthole and nothing else. I'm still intrigued by this net of flames set up by Choi Jong-in. As much as I don't like him, I have to admit, he's skilled in this field. Ordinarily, this would act as a flame prison that keeps your foes in. However, it now serves as a barrier that should prevent any ants below B rank from coming through. He saw my intrigued stare at his net of flames and explained the details. I nodded sheepishly. He chuckled. I'll search for the cave entrance now. He was about to do something, but Rimuru stopped him. I can do it. She smiled, to which he felt a bit flustered from and nodded. Man. Is this pretty privilege or what? Rimuru closed her eyes for a short while. The other hunters were questioning Rimuru's ability, looking at Choi Jong-in. All but I know full well of her abilities. She opened her eyes, and it was like her irises were an even purer gold than before. It's that way. She pointed at a hole in the wall with confidence. I hear the doubts embedded in the voices of the others as they chatted amongst themselves. If Rimuru says it's that way, then it's that way. I stared at them as Rimuru and I began walking towards it, my arm around her shoulder. The others shuddered as I stared. Let's go, guys, Rimuru invited them. They didn't have a choice other than to follow. With the way things are going, even without me, hell, even without Rimuru, this raid would have succeeded. Unless something truly unexpected happens. As we ventured through the cave, we kept encountering ants that proved to be no threat. The hunters took them down without a hitch. With the exception of a couple of them, they're pretty much as what we expected. Haven't seen these guys before. Perhaps they're the Queen's bodyguards? No, they seem far too weak for that. Their eyes have degenerated. I think it's an adaptation to working inside the darkened interior of the cave. That should make it easy. If these guys aren't the Queen's bodyguard, we should have ample firepower to handle them. You really think the Queen is here? You know how it is. The Queen abandoning the peasants, saving only herself. They're ants, so I doubt it. Plus, this is an island so there's nowhere to run. The hunters that participated in the previous Jeju Island raid were talking amongst themselves while Rimuru and I drifted from the group. This is awkward. Rimuru stared. I nodded. I feel so out of place. This is like when you were newly hired at a company. Huh? You worked in a company? I didn't know she ever worked at one before? No, I just saw a lot of memes. At times like this she sounds like a degenerate. The others started to walk forward and Rimuru and I followed, with her holding me by the hand. After this raid, I'll talk to her about us. The hatchery. The whole group stopped in their tracks, looking at the sight before them. For the hatchery to be here, that must mean the Queen's chambers are nearby. Those ants must have been guarding the hatchery after all. I'll send them all up in flames. Choi Jong-in summoned a flame in the palm of his hand. Hold on a minute, his lieutenant, Cha Hae-in, spoke. She pointed at a hatched egg. There's a single hatched egg larger than the rest of them. All of the hunters were alerted by this, including me, yet Rimuru didn't seem fazed. There has to be no way that this is an ant's egg. Just what crawled out of this thing? Min Byung-gyu was mortified. Rimuru held his shaking hand. We'll be fine. Min Byung-gyu felt a sense of relief after hearing those words from her. All we have to do is kill the Queen. Everything else is superfluous, Baek Yoon-ho spoke up. He had to stay confident, for us. For Korea. But even behind those words I can see him, scared. Man. This is kind of giving me the creeps, Rimuru sighed. Even I'm getting them. She locked eyes with me before her ears perked up. I have to go. She disappeared from the group to who knows where. The rest of the members were in shock from what she did. Where does she think she's going off to? What even is her reason for leaving us? With this reaction from the hunters, I wouldn't expect any less from the civilians. I'm sure Rimuru will be bombarded by hate comments for this. People have a lot to say when they're behind the screen, yet when you come at them, face to face, they suddenly lose all that courageousness. If it's Rimuru, then she must have a reason. She does a ton of bizarre stuff. I can't even understand what she does most of the time. In the end, it all turns out fine, so it's not a problem, I guess. Let's just keep exploring, I told them. They nodded. I teleported to the place of the Japanese hunters. Seal. Did Mikami Satoru say anything about who to go to first? He did tell me to help the Japanese hunters. Akari Shimizu, the female healer, is the first victim. I see. I appeared in front of Akari Shimizu and whoever else she was with. It seems they were expecting me. "Hi, Rimuru-chan," she greeted me, holding my hands. Her face, inches away from my own. Now that I look closely, she really is just a child. The other guys with her greeted me sheepishly. I shook my head. "Did Mikami Satoru tell you guys about me?" "Yes," they all answered in unison. "Did he tell you about what's going to happen?" After I said that, they all burst into laughter. "Huh. He must be nuts. S-rankers, dying in vain like that?" "That's right. He must take us for a fool. HMPH, he's insane. These idiots don't understand the severity of the situation, huh?" In Mikami Satoru's vision, he saw that almost the entirety of the Japanese hunters that took part in this raid died. These Japanese S-rankers must have too much arrogance to say this. When you are told about something that could potentially take your life, the normal reaction is to take precaution. Do they not have brains? Fucking idiots, I whispered under my breath. Unfortunately, that brawn for brain-looking guy somehow heard me. "What did you say?" He gripped my shoulder. If you look at it from an outsider's perspective, you'd think that a small and frail girl is being bullied by a gangster. But we are both equal as of now. We have both been appraised as S-ranks. This isn't the time to fight. I released a percentage of my haki, enough to make the man shudder in fear. What? Suddenly, a man. No, an ant came at him. It seems the first victim has changed because of me, The ant's claws took on a firm grip on the guy's neck. In order not to let this bastard's head get cut off, I had to take hold of the ant. The bastard from earlier who was laughing held his throat, his fingers tracing along the small scar caused by almost having his head severed. I stared at the ant who couldn't speak and back to the bastard from earlier. It wouldn't hurt Japan to lose only one S rank. Let's say this was a noble sacrifice for his fellow S ranks. The ant tried to flee, sensing the danger I opposed to him. I held him back, leaning into him, my haki slowly pouring out. I'm sure he can understand me just fine. Then, kill that bastard and only that bastard, lest you were to be killed as well. He understood my words and immediately severed the head off the guy. A small sacrifice for the greater good, I suppose. The two other Japanese S ranks who saw the scene couldn't help but let out their cries of terror. I thought you were supposed to protect us, how could you do that? They held the body of their lifeless comrade as they looked at me with a stare that could cut through you. My bad. I shrugged. I inched towards them. They were still in shock after the incident. Had he not been killed, you two would have been killed instead. It's better that he was killed rather than you two. These people are selfish. With an explanation like that, the only thing they'd say is, if it was for me then, it should be okay. I walked away from them, not bothering to hear them utter another word. Right. Satoru wanted me to protect these Japanese hunters from being killed. It should be fine that I only let one hunter die. I mean, if I didn't like him, then I'm sure Satoru didn't either. Speaking of Satoru, I should go see him. I teleported to where Satoru was. When he suddenly saw me beside him, he totally freaked out. Holy shit, that's kind of funny. Oh, Gyuto Ryuji is here too. Hello, Rimuru Tempest, he greeted me. The amicable mood died down as soon as Gyuto Ryuji and Satoru felt something ominous approaching us. Are you the king? It was the ant from earlier. It's speaking. It must have a similar ability as me, taking the abilities of its opponents. But the king? Why would it look for the king? What king is it anyway? I took a glance at Satoru and Gyuto Ryuji. Satoru isn't someone that's overconfident in their abilities. He's cautious. Gyuto Ryuji, on the other hand, he's arrogant, a fool who leads himself to demise. Satoru knows everything that will happen. He knows who the monster that is standing in front of us is. Yes, I am the king. Gyuto Ryuji took a stance, preparing to face the ant. Don't be so arrogant, Gyuto, Satoru was concerned. Gyuto Ryuji was a valuable asset to Japan. The most valuable asset to be exact. If he were to lose his life here like how Satoru foresaw, then Japan would suffer like it did. It would be a waste for Gyuto to die here. Gyuto's katana clashed with Beru's claws the first time. The second time, Beru went for his head. Satoru couldn't do anything to stop the scene from unfolding. But of course I could. I stopped Beru from decapitating Gyuto and whispered. Go back. I told you, didn't I? Or do you never learn? His feelings were leaking out. He was scared. Suddenly, a cry from the ant cave was heard and all of the ants went rushing back, along with Beru. If it's JinWoo, then they'll be fine. I'm sure of it. Gyuto couldn't breathe. His neck was sliced, almost halfway through. Please help him, Satoru pleaded. Huh? He doesn't have any healing skills? Oh right. We don't even have the same skill set. I kneeled down to match Gyuto's level. I pulled out a potion and splashed it on him, healing him instantly. This isn't for free. Think of it as a trade, he answered with a weak voice. What do you want? This man used to be somewhat aggressive to me. Now he must be scared. Be JinWoo's ally. That goes for you too, Satoru. JinWoo is bound to have a ton of enemies. Whether I am beside him or not. No matter what happens, be his ally. He is a man that will go against the strongest figures in this world if his views clashed with theirs. He needs people that will stay by his side if things ever go south. When the time comes that I'll leave, he'll need them. Take care of him, got that?